Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today in this video, I'm going to teach you about active versus passive voice. So active voice means that a sentence that has subject that acts upon its verb. Passive voice means that a subject is recipient of a verb action. You may have learned that passive voice is weak and incorrect, but it isn't that simple. When used correctly and in moderation, the passive voice is fine. In English grammar, verbs have 5 properties: voice, mood, tense, person, and number. Here, we are concerned with voice. The two grammatical voices are active and passive. So what's the difference between active and passive voice? First of all, I'm going to explain active voice. When the subject of sentence performs the verb's action, we say that the sentence is in the active voice. Sentences in the active voice have strong, direct, and clear tone. Here's an example. Monkey adored bananas. The cashier counted the money. The dog chased the squirrel. All three sentences have basic active voice construction: subject, verb, and object. The subject monkey performed the action described by a door. The subject cashier performs the action described by counted. The subject the dog performs the action described by chase. The subject are doing, doing, doing. They take action in their sentences. So we're moving on to passive voice. A sentence is in the passive voice on the other hand when the subject is acted on by the verb. The passive voice is always constructed with a conjugated form of from of to be plus the verb's past participle. Doing this usually generates a preposition as well. That sounds much more complicated than it is. Passive voice is actually quite easy to detect. For this example of passive voice, bananas are adored by monkeys. The money was counted by the cashier. The squirrel was chased by the dog. Let's take a closer look at the first pair sentence. Monkeys adore bananas and bananas are adored by monkeys. The active sentence consists of monkeys, which is subject, plus adore, which is verb, plus bananas, which is object. The passive sentence consists of banana, object, plus adore, are adored, which is form of to be, plus the past participle adored, and by preposition and monkey as subject, making the sentence passive flipped the structure and necessitated the preposition by. In fact, all three of the transformed sentence above require the addition of by. So when to use active and passive voice? Using the active voice conveys a strong, clear tone, and passive voice is subtler and weaker. Here's some good advice. Don't use the passive voice just because you think it sounds a bit fancier than the active voice. That said, there are times the passive voice is useful and called for. Take the squirrel was chased by the dog. For example, that sentence construction would be helpful if the squirrel were the focus of your writing and not the dog. So how to change sentence in passive voice to active voice? First, I'm gonna read the example of passive voice first. An error has occurred with your account, but every attempt was made to remedy it. That sentence is not incorrect, but it does sound a bit stiff and dishonest. It sounds less trustworthy than it could, almost evasive. Who wants to do business with a company that avoids taking full responsibility by slipping into formal passive voice territory. Face the responsibility and head on instead. Own it. So here's the version of the active voice. We made an error with your account, but we have made every attempt to remedy it. To make that sentence active rather than passive, I identified the subject, we, it was our company. That was responsible. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.